I Am Man. We are a resource hub that strengthens men and those who are navigating the various phases of life and manhood. We are building a safe space where every man's story matters. We advocate, educate, coach, and empower men on how to redefine their narratives by taking back their power to choose who they desire to be. We provide the space and roadmap for them to reclaim their authentic manhood and masculinity while providing resources that enable them to become whole contributors to their families and community.
Yo, what's good, fam? This is your boy Robert Marshall, and I'm in here with my boy Chris. What's good, fam?
What's happening? What's happening? Let's get it.
Man, let's get it. Yo, we are back again for another episode of the I Am Man podcast. Listen, we out here wilding, man. We're out here once again, man. Chris, it's starting to get cold outside. I don't know. How, is it cold out there where you at, man?
Nah, it's cooling off, but that's my type of weather, so I ain't tripping.
Man, listen, it's getting cool out here. Fall is definitely in the air, man. So I'm in the process of changing my wardrobe. But listen, I'm glad to be rocking with you, Chris, once again. Tonight we're going to be talking about mental health. I'm excited, man. We got a head buzz on this one tonight, man, and I'm really excited about the knowledge he about to drop. And I like I tell you, Chris, all the time. I think I was supposed to be a therapist myself, but I missed that boat. Nah, I don't think so. Nah,
you can still do it.
Nah. But you know what the problem I have with therapists? Most therapists, and especially men of color therapists, men of color, like I become their friends. So after I become their friends, they like, yo, you can't be my client because it's a conflict of interest.
That's true. I get it.
Man, I hate that. But listen, man, we could chat all day, but listen, I'm not gonna waste time. Yo, I'm excited to have our boy Mike Sanford. He is with us tonight. What's good, Mike?
What's going on, man?
Man, nothing much, man. Mike is, man. First of all, Mike, man, we're glad to have you in here, but I just got offended because Chris got that cheap coffee again in his hand.
Gas station coffee,
bro. Don't
only gas station coffee. To see this. This is the only gas station coffee I'm going to drink.
Listen, ain't nobody got time.
Tea. Come on,
Mike. You see this disgrace?
Chris, man, I got to be honest. I'm kind of a coffee snob, so I'm disappointed.
Me too. I'm disappointed,
man.
Tea and shells.
I'm disappointed.
I'm disappointed, man.
Tea a classic.
At least do Dunkin'.
Listen, at least do Dunkin'. Man, I'm definitely a Starbucks guy, always through and through. And you know, my points be getting up there to 250, 300. They like
400.
Exactly. Like you got that drink, you got a free drink, you got a free. I'm like, oh, I done spent the money, yo. So listen, I'm down. I ain't going nowhere, dude. And it's fall time, so they got those pumpkin spices and bruh.
Learn behavior. Nobody care nothing about that.
Chris,
QT. Y'all go to QT. Don't fall for that free Tuesdays coffee mess. Go to QT.
Who are they?
When you want to go.
Who's QT? Who?
QT.
Listen, obviously somebody has mental health issues on this podcast tonight.
Oh wow.
But anyway, I'm not the therapist. Mike is the therapist. So Mike, man, what's up, man? Tell us who you are. Tell us what you do. And man, we'll jump right into it.
Man, Mike Sanford, before any of it, I'm a husband, I'm a father, just a chill guy. And just this phase of my life is really dedicated to empowering men specifically as it relates to mental health. Do a lot of advocacy. Professionally, I'm a consultant and a trainer. And I do some life coaching with Healing Care. Shout out to Court, a friend of mine is her company, and we just been doing some really great work. So yeah, just a lot going on in my life, and I wear a lot of hats, but at the core, it's just a real chill guy, happy husband, a proud father. Yeah.
Listen, he said happy husband because some people are happy.
Right.
a message by itself.
I'm glad you leaned in on that. Happy.
Listen,
I think my wife might be watching. I'm happy.
Listen.
He get some brownies in
I was about to say that too.
He back in.
He's trying to worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. That's what he's trying to do.
That's it. Beauty of that's it right there.
I mean, the dog not either.
Listen, Chris, with this coffee, I don't know, man. But she might be offended. Dude, so how long have you been married, man?
12 years. I was gonna say 11, but 12. Yeah, we hit 12.
Wow, that's a long.
And he kept up with the time. He legit.
Nah, he really happy.
He's legit.
Yeah,
Dude,
man.
That's dope, man. You guys have a picture perfect family, man. You guys look. I see your photos, and y'all just. I'm like, dang, they just
photoed up on the beach, toes out, and everything,
bro. Everything. Listen,
yeah, I see what's popping.
Listen, I gotta hide my toes, bro. My wife be like, you don't get them crusty things off my. I gotta wear socks to bed,
bro. My feet are horrible. It is literally my guy Judah. He the one that took our pictures. He angled it right, and I don't look like I got talons or whatever. He just it was a great job.
Listen, my wife be like at night. She's like, bro, you better put some socks on. Don't get in my bed with them flakes.
Rubbing on my legs
with the flakes. Oh. You think about it, shake out the flakes.
Bro, my wife be like, "Don't you get in my bed with
them
flakes."
She love you.
You done brought the beach to the bed, little
He said, "They brought the beach to the bed."
Lord,
my God,
yeah, man. So I got to wear socks, but anyway, man, listen, I appreciate. So, Mike, man, let's dive in. So, first of all, did you just say you could train me on how to be a therapist?
First off, let's be clear. So I'm not a therapist in this sense. And as far as training you to be a therapist, you might have to go to school, bro.
Nah, man, I ain't trying to hear that. I got too many degrees right now. I got too many degrees, bro. Like I'm too frustrated. I'm already at the doctoral level, bro. I am not going back to go get another master's in mental clinical health because it don't make sense to me. It don't make sense.
Let's talk about it. What's the barrier to you doing it?
First of all, this show is not about me. It's about you.
That's what therapy is. But deal with issues.
Listen, no.
Let's unpack that, bro.
So unpack that. I am at this juncture in executive level leadership in my career. And I have a dual master's degree in higher education, leadership and administration, and student affairs. And so I'm already at that space, and I've already started doing doctoral work in my educational field. Now, I desire to pivot and to be, to get some type of degree, either in my doctorate in some type of psychology, some type of something that would allow me to be a therapist. But unfortunately, the way that the social service that social science industry is set up in education, you have to have master's work done. You have to have some level of master's work done, and to have the CACREP accreditation. I've done my research. You got to have the CACREP accreditation in order to be a certified therapist. Now, I'm not going back to go get a CACREP accreditation where I'm going to get more debt, and then maybe get paid $30,000 to be a therapist. Nah, bro, it just don't make sense.
So I mean, it's different. It's different avenues to it, but we could talk about that afterwards.
Listen, we'll talk about Chris. Why are you looking at me, Chris? Why are you looking at me crazy?
Because you in the right field for it. You have the right personality, the right charisma, and plus, bro, you in Chi-Town.
I know, man.
People need you, man. And the thing about it is the field, I feel like over the last couple years, it's really been this push to get men, specifically men of color, in this field. So we see more Black and brown faces occupying this space, specifically men, but it's still not enough. And until we can remove the stigma from mental health, you know what I'm saying? And mental health is viewed as much physical as it is like emotional or whatever, whatever connotation people associate with it. We need more people. So man, it's just like the scripture. I'm gonna hit you with scripture. The harvest, is ready. It's the laborers that's few, man. We need more laborers.
Listen, I want to be a laborer, but I need them to give me a discount and a fast track. A discount and a fast track, because I just can't see spending 2 more years in a master's level program to get $30,000. I just
2 years gonna come regardless if you do it
No,
or not.
That's what I'm about to say. What are you gonna do in 2 years anyway?
That 2 years could be in my doctoral work, and I could be walking around. That's what it could be.
Amen.
Amen. You're right. You killed it. Amen. Amen. I feel like, I don't get me wrong. I'm a student at heart.
Me too.
I'm gonna get my PhD. If I'm 60 trying to get my PhD, I'm gonna get it. At the end of the day, what else is it to do?
Listen, I hear y'all.
For you to do.
And I hear y'all and I rock with y'all. That's why I
hear y'all and I rock with
y'all. That's why I have a lot of friends who are therapists, and that's why I can't find one. I can't find a therapist because all of them are my friends. Because I keep them around. Every men's event that we do, every event that we do, I have a male colored therapist or multiple of them in the room every time, because they get to a place in the conversation where I know that I'm not qualified to speak and I could cause more damage than I do good. So that's when I allow the therapists, the professionals to take over. That's smart. I create the platform, but I did realize to have my own practice, I don't necessarily have to be a certified therapist.
That's true. That's true.
All I got to provide is a space and have a clinical therapist to partner with me. And then it could be my space, be my practice, but be, under their license. I'm finding loopholes. I felt the glory.
The loopholes.
I ain't feel it. I ain't feel it on that. He said I'm finding loopholes. I feel the glory.
Loopholes is keeping you going back to school. That's all it is.
Listen, man, God, we ain't coming that. Listen, we ain't doing that tonight. But anyway, man, Chris is a therapist, and so is and Mike works in this field. Man, what are some of the challenges that you see all the time, that you're seeing a lot that men are dealing with right now?
I think again, what was expressly clear, man, just over this pandemic, like this crazy year 2020. 2021, things have just been insane. I think what we've seen, well, one, I'll say it like this. I don't think we've seen the full impact that this pandemic and this year has had on people. But I think even more with men, we're finding that they're looking for spaces. Like we're looking for spaces to unpack. We're looking for spaces to speak, to process. We're looking for opportunities to connect with people that identify with us, you know what I mean? And so I think that's the biggest phenomenon, in my opinion, right now. Is just, people are desiring to unpack. People are desiring to find spaces that are safe.
Chris, now you're the guy. You're a therapist as well, man. How are you empowering people right now? What do you find yourself often saying to people in this day, like today?
A lot of things, but what Mike was tagging on, it's really not, I can't even narrow it down. Yeah. But really mostly, if not inspiring, encouraging, but also, man, it's I think from the start of the pandemic up until current day, I think mostly, man, we've been dealing with a lot of distractions. I think a lot of people have been dealing with distractions from the deal with themselves or their inner issues. And then I think even when we was on lockdown, it allowed us to really deal with ourselves and unpack some of that stuff. But at the same time, we're unpacking it. We don't know how to unpack it. We don't know how to process it. So I think we're therapists, and especially for Mike and I, and you yourself as well, Robert. Don't count yourself out, because
I'm not counting out. I'm not
going to let you slide out. Put it like that.
Listen,
I think when we come in at best, us three, to be honest with you, is that we know how to deal with crisis. And these people are coming to us with these situations and these issues and these circumstances or whatever it is, and they're in their crisis, and we're looking at life circumstances because we've processed it real slow, and we're taking our time with it, and we've dialect, whatever it is that we may be, whatever the circumstances may be. but we've learned how to encourage them to deal with the now versus dealing with what's this next, or what if that happens, or what if that happens, because that's how we rationalize things. We know we thinking outside, like what if that happened, what if that, all these scenarios, and that may not be the case. What about now, where you are now? And that's why I oftentimes find myself with teaching people, really, and encouraging them, instilling in them how to deal with the now versus worrying about really what happens next, if even the next may not even happen. And so I think our minds have a way of plagiarizing things as if it's going to happen, and when it really don't happen, and we create these false narratives in our mind for them to happen that don't happen, and we living out a lifestyle that's not really prevented to happen when you could have prevented it in the first place. So I really find myself in that era, man, of really encouraging people to really live in the now and process that effect to really move forward and where they are currently, than really trying to live out scenarios that may never happen.
You know what's so crazy? Remember when our last show we had James on? He said something that was so powerful, man. He said, he's called that yoga dude, and he said, in order to gain control, he says you have to stop the narrative, the movie that's been playing in your head that creates these false. That thing stuck with me. I'm gonna use it somewhere, but it's gonna come up somewhere. But and so I think that was something that you were just speaking to, and talking about the narrative that this type of traumatic experiences plays. And I wonder how many men are living or in those narratives, and because they're not going, they can't run away from themselves. They can't run away from those narratives because they have to sit. Man, how are they? I wonder, how they're coping with that. And I want to ask, as a therapist, because we all know there's a stigma with men and going to therapy. I think it's changing, but there still is a stigma. What is generally misunderstood about what an actual therapist does?
I think I'm just jumping. I think the issue that we approach therapy with is that, one, something is wrong, right? We look at it through the lens of something is wrong and I need someone to fix it. And that's not really what that is.
Is it fix it or fix me?
Well, I think it's both, right? I think it's both, because a lot of times you have people who kind of have this idea that it's everything external, and once everything external is fixed, then I'll be good. I'm good once the crazy people I'm connected to get right, or once the situation is over, once I break up with her, once I, what I mean, just all these different things. Once I get that fixed, then I'm good. But a lot of times what we fail to realize is that we hold power in every situation, right? So I think it's all about the perspective, but I think some people, it is about the external situation and then also, self. But I think a lot of times there's this wall that men specifically, we approach therapy with, because it's like, well, I don't want to be that vulnerable, because if I give anybody that much insight into me, they have power over me. You get what I'm saying? And the reality of it is that going to therapy and reaching out for help, I mean, this become a colloquialism now, but we all know that there's no greater act of strength than to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. My bad.
Bro, you were saying something. I think you struck a nerve with me, because even as somebody who is transparent and is an advocate for men and being whole, you said something I just said to one of my boys this week. There are certain times in my life where, mentally I may be struggling through some stuff, and I don't want to tell anybody, or I don't want to share it with my friends or my brothers, because I'm afraid that they're going to use that as ammunition against me one day. I make them mad, or I do something, and then boom, it's just all over. So, man, I say that to ask you guys, how do we overcome that? Because I think a lot of men, we just don't want our secrets to be out there. We don't want, and it feels like the less people who know, the more we can manage our own craziness.
Chris, you ought to,
go ahead. You do your thing.
So, in what you just said, though, what requires more courage? For me to sit back and hold back the vulnerable areas of myself, or to reveal that stuff and again have to use courage to look your friends in the face or look the situation in the face? What requires more courage? And I feel like right there highlights where strength is. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times we think that holding back or protecting, I'll use this as an example. I had a supervisor when I first got into the mental health space, right? So I was a case manager. I was young, excited, all of this stuff. And I remember there were aspects of the job I did super well. And then there were aspects of the job that I struggled in. So what I would do is try in an effort to overcompensate the areas that I did really well. I would always like put that out there. I would always, magnify it and try to make it seem like I got this whole job on lock because look at the stuff I'm doing great. And I'll never forget in a supervision, he told me, he said, when you cover up the stuff you're not doing well and you're constantly magnifying everything you're doing well, you don't realize it, but subconsciously you're magnifying the stuff you're weak in and scaling down what you're good at. Why? Because all of us can see what you're good at. We're looking for a new trick. Like at some point you become a dog with the old trick, right? So we expect all these great things that you can do. We expect that. So now we're looking for the other stuff, the stuff you're trying to hide, but you're inadvertently magnifying it. You're inadvertently putting it on blast. And so I use that, parallel that with us and vulnerability. I call what you're talking about the vulnerability hangover. You know what I'm saying? Where you're vulnerable with somebody and then the next day you're like, dang, why did I say that? Why did I share that? Why did I reveal that much of myself, right? But the reality is, again, it requires more courage to reveal that about yourself and still walk in dignities, to still walk with courage, to still walk with your head up, knowing that I've exposed an aspect of myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense, but that it's still easier I think on some levels easier said than done. Like I get it, and I'm for it. I have a group of friends that I've had for a long time, and I think at this level in my life, at this career, and I think I had to humble myself and really be like, yo, I need help in these areas. Like I need y'all to keep me accountable in these areas of my life. And you're right. I had those moments where I'm like, yo, I just, but then afterwards, I'm so grateful and thankful that I got it out. And even just the act of sharing sometimes it relieves the pressure. And so, man, Chris, how do we talk to men who have gotten used to being under pressure?
I probably shouldn't use this analogy, but I'm going to use it. And I probably shouldn't use it, but I'm going to use it anyway. Hopefully you can catch it. I don't know. It's how I actually compartmentalize the two. But when it comes to vulnerability and money, dealing with men, I'm going to just deal with the gender of men. We actually put the two together. So like when it comes to like paying tithes to a church that we don't feel trusted in, we don't want to pay our tithes. But the Bible doesn't ask you to look at the leaders, nor the people in it. It asks us an obligation of being obedient to pay your dues. And when we look at money the same way, or vulnerability the same way, because I believe Mario just actually posted it on the comments. It's like it's not about sharing it; it's about trusting the right man. My point is, it's not to me. It is about sharing the right man, but it ain't. Because as long as I'm looking for the right person, I never find the right person. My freedom comes in me getting it out of my spirit, out of my heart, out of my vulnerability for me to get free. It's not about me sharing it to the right person, because you never find the right person just as well as you'd never find the right church. If you find the right church, you probably would never have these problems in the first place. But if you can just get to a place to where you don't no longer look at your money as ties to you, but it's an obligation, like this is God's, then I'm no longer looking at my money as it's mine. I'm looking at it as, Lord, whatever they do with the money, that's their problem. I'm doing what you asked me to do. I'm going to give it. And when we look at our vulnerability the same way, I look at vulnerability the same way, because, Lord, I'm doing what you asked me to do. I'm no longer holding this in, You told me to cast my burdens unto you. You told me, you said your yoke is easy and your burden is light. So I'm going to do my part and just give it. If I hold on to it, then I'm saying your burden is no longer easy, it's no longer light, it's heavier. And I think it's lighter me holding on to it than me giving it to you. So if I hold on to it, then I'm saying, God, you can do no greater with it than I can do it, holding on to it. And I look at the two the same. It may be too deep for some. It's light enough for me. That I think if I hold on to my issues and my problems more than giving it to God, waiting on the trust of a man, then I feel that whoever he brings in my direction is not worthy of hearing it or holding on to it, whether they can carry a 5-gallon bucket of my issues or not. It's not even about that. Whether they spill it along the side or not, my freedom is me that my obedience is giving it out and spilling it out and sharing that for somebody else to get free along the way, so I can walk into that freedom and that transparency that God has called me to be. That's my
And at that moment, I need everybody to pull out your phones right now. I want you to, I feel in my spirit that there is a green app on your phone that has a dollar sign. And I need you. I need you to go right now and hit that button and type in what you see on the screen. $GLORY1. Your blessing is in.
Wow.
Oh man.
The views and opinions. No.
Listen, they just went up. Chris, we about to raise that offering. Listen. We have to raise that offering, brother.
Well, you stupid.
Listen, the Kojics taught me very well. We're gonna raise that.
I see. They ain't got no problem raising the offering, doing no word.
No, not at all. Come on.
Well, you stupid.
Nah, man. I think you guys are right. You're right. I think men are laced like that. I agree with part what you said, but I get it. I think for me, when it comes to some of these issues and investing yourself, like I think as evolved men, like I think we are all pretty evolved men that's on this podcast. But as I talk to like what I call like the man's man, and those men who are just like, I don't show emotion. I don't tell you I love you. I just show you I love you. Like those type of men. How do we help those brothers? How do we help our brothers see the importance of talking and sharing and confiding within somebody?
I would even say too, because I agree with what Chris was saying as it relates to confiding in Christ, right? Finding that safe place in God and being able to confide. But I think it's something to be said, and it kind of goes to what you're saying, Robert, as far as the finding a person to connect and confide in, because I mean, typically if you're going to therapy or, just accountability is kind of difficult to just go to God, right? So, I say that in the sense that it's like, if you're looking for someone to kind of like help you to walk alongside you, right? I think it's something to be said about taking the risk. And for, like you said, the man's man, I think a lot of times we don't want to talk about the risky business that exists and being vulnerable. It's risky. And so you to some degree, you just have to jump. I mean, I remember in addiction, a lot of times they talk about, like in AA or the traditional 12 steps, they talk about, your best thinking got you here. Well, that's not really motivating anybody to change, right? I mean, my best thinking got me here. Well, I'm still struggling. But I think when you're able to connect with people and take the risk, like I'm gonna just dive off the deep end. And again, it requires courage, because vulnerability, you literally risk being hurt. It's like being in love, right? When you fall in love, there is a huge risk that you could be hurt. Like this person that you love can hurt you. So I think you have to be willing to just jump. You have to be willing to take that risk.
I think what you're saying. This should be Chris. I feel a book in my shando. The new courage, the new strength. Like, what is that? Like, I just felt it. Like the new courage. and the new strength. And I think for a lot of times, men, courage and strength has often been demonstrative. It's been about muscles. It's been about superpowers. It's about running into the building on fire and saving the woman. And I think about Superman. That's we think about that as courage, but I think what we're saying is real courage, or the new courage, is not running into somebody else's burning building, but acknowledging that yours is on fire too.
Wow, that's
Absolutely.
that's real. Superman did have powers to save, but he also had kryptonite, what hindered him. And
So
I think as men, we still, no matter how superpower, how supernatural you act in front of others, no matter how well you perform, at the end of the day, man, when you take that blue suit off and they ass off your chest, you still got a kryptonite you got to deal with, and nobody can deal with that kryptonite but you.
Yeah.
So I get it. I respect it.
I felt a new book in my shando, like the new courage. Yeah, that's dope. That's
Yeah.
I'm writing a new. I'm in the process of writing another book for men, and hopefully that one will sell, because my last one did not sell at all.
We're
But
gonna pray over this one.
we're gonna pray over this one. We're gonna pray over this one. No, man, but I think this new courage, that's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna label it. This new courage that requires real strength, that requires vulnerability. It is risky, like you said, Mike. So before we go, man, what are some practical steps that people can take, that men can take, in order to move towards their journey to wholeness?
I think first it requires a level of honesty, right? I think that a lot of times we and I'll never forget, God kind of just spoke this in my spirit, dropped this in my spirit during college. And it was this idea that what we don't confront will never conquer.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's this idea that when I'm honest with myself and my own limitations, when I'm honest with what boundaries I allow to ease up on, because I think a lot of times when dealing with people, we especially when we like get connected to folk, we let our boundaries go. Being aware of where I'm easing up, being aware of where I'm not being honest with myself, that's what kind of leads us down this bad path. And so I think really embracing honesty, looking at my own limitations, and then again going back to the right community, find community. I think a lot of times we underappreciate and undervalue how much community means in wellness.
Yeah.
Right. And I was just telling the client this: recovery is not something like, it's not a privilege. Recovery is something that it already belongs to you because you lost something, right?
Yeah.
In order to recover something, you once possessed it and you lost it. So recovery is not some type of privilege. Recovery is something that it belongs to you. So you have to be tenacious. You have to go after it. And so I think being in the right community, connected to the right people who are just as committed as you are to your recovery, it makes all the difference in the world. It's super important.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful, man. Chris, what do you think about that?
Now, Mike hit it dead on the head. I think it's also based off community. I think it's based off accountability. I think it's also in that community. I think those individuals need to know your weaknesses. So you have to be vulnerable for them to know your weaknesses and your strengths, so they know what not to bring around you or the type of environment that you're not safe in. And also on top of that, I think as well as he touched on wellness. I think it's language. You should, I can't, or things, certain parameters of negativity, of negative words that really set boundaries around you where you need to break free from. Keeping yourself out of those boundaries of places to where, man, it hinders you in the mindset to where it allows you to relapse. I dealt in my family, man, us, 87% of my immediate family have gone to prison and dealt with trials and imprisonment and probation and drug addiction and drug abuse and all those things, etc. So, it's even within my safeness that I have to be mindful who I'm around and where I go and who I talk to, because it's easy to slip back into those boundaries or those environments just because it's so instilled in my family because it's so entangled within us. It's just so easily, my name is attached to it. So I think it's a very safe place, man, that people are very mindful of set those boundaries in place.
You know, I think that was powerful and that was freeing even for me. I think that's freeing for a lot of people is that know your boundaries. Know your boundaries. And as far as you speaking to being safe, I'm all for that. Creating environments that I feel safe, creating environments that I know that my family is safe, creating and being in spaces that I know are going to add value and not put me in a space where I'm worried about relapse or worried about what could potentially take me back instead of projecting me forward.
Man, I just got to ride that wave for a second though, because that's so good. And I think a lot of times what it speaks to is this kind of like undercurrent, this idea of humility, right? And I think a lot of times when we go into situations partnered with vulnerability and all of that other stuff, we have to know, like, I don't know everything.
Right.
I don't know everything. And I think, again, with a good friend of mine, she was saying how within the pandemic has been this epidemic of people wanting to be right, like just married to this idea of I have to be right. And I think what is a key element and what across the board, what we all just said is it's this humility to accept help. It's this humility to say, you know what, I don't know it all. And you might have a better way. You might have something that I can partner with, some coping strategies that have gotten me to this point, right? But I think that we have to really be able to embrace humility. And I love it's a guy, Dave Buren. He defines humility as being known for who you truly are. And that's completely different from what we've made humility to be, right? True humility is saying, look, this is where I fall short. I'm letting you know who I really am. And so I think that it's super important to just really be humble, to be humble, you know what I mean, in our journey to wellness. So when you said that, it just stirred something in me.
Man, I think that's great, man. I want to leave it right there. I don't want to add nothing more to that. It's powerful, man. Man, Mike, I'm so grateful that you came on tonight. Chris, man, as always, Mike, I think you added so much value. Where can people find you, man? How can people get in contact with you, man?
Man, social media is the best way. Michael Sanford on Facebook. Mike is on his way on Instagram. Those are the only two I really use for real. Yeah, but just hit me up, and yeah, that's
all
it.
right, man. Thanks, man. Also, guys, before y'all know, hey, I gotta pub it. Listen, if you don't have Chris's book, Broken, you need to go grab Chris's book, Broken. It's available on Amazon. Go grab his book, and I'm gonna just put this little filler out there. Chris is working on another project, y'all. Hey, he's working on another project.
Hey.
Broken is actually one of my favorite books, and so I definitely strongly advise you to go grab his book. If you haven't grabbed any of my books, you can go to my website and you can grab one of my books. I'm actually right now, since you're listening, giving away for free Just Believe, Reasons Why Your Faith Matters. It's available in English and in Spanish. Go grab it. It'll be a blessing to you. Go to my website and you will love it. I got one more plug, yo. Hey, September 24th, the Iron Man Men's Conference. Yo, we're talking about sex, relationships, and situationships. This is an in-person event, live event. It's a conversation. You don't want to miss it. If you're in the Chicagoland area, if you're not, yo, fly in. Flights are mad cheap right now.
I'm coming.
Yeah, flights are mad cheap, yo. Go and it's gonna be dope, Chris. It's gonna be dope.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. And last but not least, for sure, go grab my new single, Little Brown Boy Song. This is for the Brown Boys. Yo, you will love it. Your family will love it. It's a great opportunity for you guys to connect with great music that you all can dance to, and that's clean. All right. Yo, we love y'all. Peace out. Y'all have a great evening. All right. Peace out, guys. Peace.